There's a pain more excruciating than loss and death. It is the pain of a mother in search of a missing son. There's the suspension of disbelief. There's the hovering anguish of uncertainty. There's the constant emotion in the heart between acceptance and anger, between trust and doubt, between faith and despondency. Tonight our guest will speak to us of one mother's continuing quest for a son and how she has survived the agony. Please welcome Miss Edith Burgos. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, very good evening, Robert. Good evening to all the viewers.
Ma'am, since this is the first time that we have you on our program, could you kindly narrate to us briefly the beginning of your ordeal from the day your son disappeared until this evening?
It was April 28, 2007 when my son went missing. We were supposed to meet. We had a family council that day, but he never came. And eventually we found out that he was abducted. An unidentified caller told us that somebody was dragged out of the mall, and he said that his man looked like my son. So we went to the mall. We found out that he was dragged into a vehicle with a license plate TAB 194, and we also found out that this license plate at that time was in the custody of 656 Infantry Battalion. Since then, I went to almost all the offices, to ISAF, to the Task Force USIG, CIDG. I even went to the Office of the Executive Secretary, the Executive Department. I brought my case to court. It's been 6 years, almost 6 years. April 28 is the anniversary of his abduction, yet I haven't found my son.
Ma'am, you said you've gone to the different agencies. In your own way, how have you done your own tracking of your son? And have there been other agencies that actually helped you on the way in the 6 years that you've been looking for your son?
Well, there was a lot of help from NGOs like Karapatan, Desaparecidos. We were also able to solicit the support of the Working Group of Enforced and Involuntary Disappearance of the United Nations. The Commission on Human Rights has helped a lot. All this help has not been enough.
Ma'am, right now, what is the status of the search? And with the recent announcement from Malacanang to make your case a priority, are you confident that this would finally be resolved?
A lot of task forces and groups were already formed to look for the disappeared and to investigate killings. There is not much hope, though. And yet, I cannot say that this group will not be able to do it, break the culture of impunity, break the cover-up, which is pervading. And, well, there is hope. There is still hope, and I cling to that. That's the reason why I am still here. I still hope that I will find my son someday.
Ma'am, looking back at the time when your son disappeared or allegedly kidnapped, could you think of any reason why your son would have been abducted, and what possible purpose would that abduction serve anyone or any institution?
It was much later when I eventually understood why my son was taken. He was involved with Farmers Group and other groups, and I think to a certain extent he had an influence on these groups, and the government at that time didn't want that. Anyone who opposed the government was easy target. And since my son was vulnerable, he was alone. He was not with any group at that time when he was abducted. And the message is that you're not supposed to say things against government. And also, I learned much later through the hearings that they say that he was part of the anti-insurgency campaign launched by the government. And he was supposed to be an example, maybe to sow fear. Well, we have been harassed and we have been target of surveillance, probably to silence us and to silence and make maybe Jonas an example of what will happen to you if you try to organize farmers, try to educate them.
Ma'am, there is a film that will be done on your quest. We understand it would be Miss Lorna Tolentino who would portray you as a mother. How would you think this would be of any help for your cause, for your son?
I am sure that this movie would be a lot of help. I just learned very recently that the picture of Miss Lorna T was posted, holding the picture of my son, was posted in the blogspot, Free Jonas Burgos Movement blogspot. And within 24 hours, there were 50,000 hits. So I said, this should be the way we should do it. You know, the advocacy can gain more ground, and if you're able to use this kind of means to reach more people, make them aware that there are disappearances, and make them aware that they can do something to prevent disappearances, then to a certain extent, we would have done our job as advocates of this enforced disappearance.
Has the social networking scene right now helped your case?
Yes, it has helped a lot. In fact, it was through the social network that we were able to get a lot of evidences.
Ma'am, this is a very difficult question to ask, but it must be asked. After quite a long period of searching and searching, as a mother, do you sense that your son could still be alive?
Actually, Robert, it is a choice. I have no proof that my son is dead, nor do I have proof that he is alive. We choose to believe that he is alive, but it is even more difficult for me to hope that he is, because to hope that he is alive would mean that he is suffering an inconceivable torture, and I cannot imagine my son being detained and being subjected to indignities, and yet I hope that he is alive. So it is a choice on the part of my family and myself to believe that he is alive. Until such time when I have proved that he has been murdered and is gone, that's the time when I would change my mind.
Ma'am, what keeps you strong and still pursue this case to look for your son?
I think it is belief that whatever happens, whether it is perceived as good or bad, it happens because it has been allowed. And it is allowed for a good reason. We only have to look for that good reason. In the case of Jonas, and my case, I think the good reason is that I have discovered what God's will is for me. I would not have been able to find that out if Jonas were not disappeared. But this belief that nothing would happen without God's allowing it has helped me go through the difficult moments, and my family's difficult moments too.
Ma'am, there are many forced disappearances that await resolution. Your case focuses on their plight as well. Kindly share with them a few words of comfort, inspiration, and enlightenment as they go through a parallel pain with what you are going through today.
I talk directly to the hearts of those who have relatives, friends who have been disappeared. We cannot give up. We cannot stop, because that is precisely what the perpetrators would like us to do. We must do our part, because we can pray for divine intervention, and yet we have to do our part. And just as that widow who persisted and finally got her way, we must be like that widow, persist, pray, and do our part. There is always hope.
Okay, on that note, ma'am, thank you very much for joining us tonight on NewsLife. That was Miss Edith Burgos, and we joined the Filipino nation in praying for the final resolution of your ordeal. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Robert.